The midnight sky hung above the city like a velvet curtain stitched with silver, its quiet glow softening every hard edge, every noise, every restless heartbeat wandering beneath it. It was in that mystical hour, when the world seemed to pause between breaths, that Elara found herself walking toward the old riverside bridge she had not visited in years. The air was cool, brushing gently against her hair, carrying faint scents of jasmine and the distant ocean that always managed to sneak into the city at night. Her footsteps echoed softly, not rushed, not hesitant, simply drawn forward by something she couldn't name. She had come here countless times in the past. But tonight felt different, as if the universe had carved out this particular moment with intention. The lights of the city shimmered across the water, breaking into dancing fragments whenever the breeze stirred the surface. She leaned against the metal railing, her eyes scanning the familiar horizon, unaware that tonight she would not be alone. Elias had been on the other side of the bridge, his hands tucked into the pockets of his dark coat, staring at the very same horizon. He had always loved the night. The quiet honesty of it, the way it never demanded anything except presence. Yet tonight, for the first time, the night felt incomplete, as though it was waiting for someone to step into it, to give it purpose. When he noticed the figure at the railing, a silhouette softly illuminated by moonlight, his breath caught for a moment. Something about her presence was hauntingly familiar, like a half-forgotten melody drifting back from childhood. He didn't mean to walk toward her, his feet simply moved, guided by an invisible pull. When she turned her head slightly, their eyes met, not abruptly, not in shock, but as though the universe had been arranging this meeting for years. Elara recognized him instantly, yet not entirely. She had seen his face years ago at this a fleeting encounter during a rainstorm when both had sought shelter under the stone archway. They exchanged only a few words back then, nothing significant. Yet she remembered the warmth of his smile and the softness of his voice. And now, here he was again, as if the night itself had folded back in time to reconnect what had once brushed together. They exchanged polite greetings at first, but something in their voices trembled slightly, carrying traces of wonder. They talked about how strange the night felt, how peaceful, how heavy with meaning. The conversation flowed effortlessly, sliding from one topic to another like a river naturally bending around stones. They spoke of dreams they had chased, burdens they had carried, moments that had shaped them. Elias told her how he used to come to this bridge whenever he felt lost, and Elara confessed that tonight, she too had come seeking something she could not explain. As minutes slipped into an hour, the city seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them standing beneath the moon's quiet glow. Their laughter echoed softly, merging with the whisper of the wind. Forming a harmony the night welcomed warmly. They were strangers, yet not entirely. Something about their shared silence, their shared stories, their shared presence, made them feel as though they were rediscovering a connection. When a gentle breeze lifted her hair, Elias reached out instinctively, brushing a loose strand behind her ear. It was a small gesture, simple, tender, unplanned, yet it cracked open something inside them both. Elara felt her heart skip, not in fear but in sudden, startling awareness. Elias felt the same jolt, a quiet certainty blooming in his chest. The night around them deepened, wrapping them in a cocoon of fragile possibility. And for the first time in a long time, Elara felt seen, not for who she had been, not for who she pretended to be, but for who she was in this exact moment under the midnight sky. The quiet rhythm of the river continued beneath them as they lingered on the bridge, the silver reflections casting shimmering patterns over their faces. Elara found herself leaning closer than she realized, drawn not only by Elias's words but by the calm steadiness in his gaze. He had the kind of eyes that didn't look through you, they looked into you, as though searching gently for the truth you hid even from yourself. And she didn't know why she wasn't afraid of that. Normally she guarded herself, choosing silence over vulnerability, distance over closeness, retreat over risk. But tonight, beneath the tender weight of the moon, everything felt reversed, natural, open, inevitable. Elias sensed it too. He noticed the way she listened, the way her breath softened whenever he spoke, the way her fingers lightly traced the cold railing as though grounding herself in the moment. Something about her presence felt like a soft awakening inside him, piercing through the walls he had built around his heart over the years. He found himself telling her things he had never said aloud to anyone, the fears he carried, the dreams he kept hidden, the loneliness he pretended he had grown used to. She responded with honesty of her own, sharing stories of heartbreak, quiet nights spent wishing for something she could never quite define, and moments where she had felt like she was standing still while the world rushed past her. Elias listened with unwavering attention, absorbing every word, every pause, every tremble in her voice. There were moments when their conversation drifted into silence, but it wasn't the uncomfortable kind. It was the soft, meaningful quiet that forms between two people who understand each other deeply without needing to fill the air with words. The moon watched over them, its gentle light wrapping them in a cocoon of serenity, while the city around them faded into nothing more than distant echoes. It felt as though time itself had slowed, stretching out this fragile connection so they could explore it fully, breath by breath. As the hours passed, they walked slowly along the bridge, their footsteps sinking naturally. Their shoulders brushed occasionally, sending tiny sparks through both of them. Elara caught herself smiling for no reason, simply because he was beside her, and Elias couldn't stop glancing at her as though making sure she was real. Their laughter grew softer, warmer, deeper. They talked about little things, childhood memories, favorite books, dreams they once believed were impossible. They talked about big things, faith, loss, the tender ache of wanting someone to understand you. Every word they exchanged wove a delicate thread between them, pulling their hearts closer, binding them in ways they didn't yet fully understand. At one point, Elias stopped walking and turned to face her, his expression softened by a vulnerability he rarely let anyone see. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. She nodded, feeling her heart flutter. He hesitated for a moment, gathering the courage to let the truth slip free. "Tonight feels different. Like I'm supposed to be here with you. Like the world aligned for this moment." Elara swallowed as warmth spread through her chest. She had felt the same, though she hadn't dared to admit it. "I know," she whispered. "It feels like I'm remembering something I never lived." Elias stepped closer, drawn by the resonance in her words. There was a gentle tension between them, a magnetic pull neither resisted. The wind brushed against them, carrying the faint scent of rain that had not yet fallen. They ended up sitting near the far end of the bridge, legs dangling above the water, talking in soft tones that matched the quiet night. Elias told her he had stopped believing in fate long ago, but tonight made him wonder if some connections were too strong to ignore. Elara confessed she had always loved midnight, not because of the darkness but because it made the world feel softer, quieter, more honest. Elias smiled at that, an unguarded smile that reached his eyes, and suddenly she felt something shift inside her. Something tender. Something frightening. Something she didn't want to run from this time. Their hands found each other almost accidentally, resting together in the space between them. Neither pulled away. The warmth of his palm pressed gently into hers, steady, grounding, real. They sat like that for a long time, listening to the water, the breeze, and their own quiet breathing. When Elara finally looked at him, really looked, she saw a reflection of her own longing, gentle, unspoken, blossoming. Elias lifted his free hand slowly, brushing his fingertips along her cheek, tracing the soft line of her jaw. She didn't flinch or turn away. Instead, she leaned into his touch, letting herself feel the moment fully. Midnight wrapped around them like a promise, whispering that some connections were worth trusting, worth risking, worth surrendering to. The night deepened, settling into that magical hour when the world feels half dream, half memory. The city lights shimmered like scattered stars below them, and the river carried their reflections gently downstream, as if protecting the moment from the passing of time. Elara and Elias remained on the bridge, their hands still intertwined, their bodies angled toward each other as though gravity itself had shifted. The silence between them grew richer, pulsing with emotions too delicate to name. Elara felt her heartbeat slow, then quicken, then settle into a soft rhythm that matched Elias's steady breath. She could feel the warmth radiating from him, comforting and grounding, yet electrifying in its own tender way. The weight of her past worries seemed to fade, dissolving beneath the glow of the moon and the gentle strength of his presence. Elias watched her quietly, memorizing every detail of her face, not out of urgency, but out of awe. He traced the curve of her lashes, the softness of her lips, the faint glow of moonlight resting against her skin. Her beauty wasn't loud or demanding, it was the kind that drew you in slowly, leaving you breathless without you noticing. He knew he was falling, slowly, deeply, silently, but falling nonetheless. He thought about all the nights he had spent alone on this bridge, trying to make peace with loneliness, convincing himself he didn't need anyone. Yet tonight, standing here with her, he realized how wrong he had been. The world felt fuller now, warmer, brighter, as if meeting her had awakened a part of him he had forgotten existed. Elara felt it too. Every moment with him felt like a soft unveiling of herself, of him, of the hidden threads connecting their lives in ways she couldn't yet understand. She felt safe with him in a way she hadn't felt in years. When he gently lifted her chin so she would meet his eyes, her breath caught, not out of fear but out of the overwhelming tenderness of the moment. Elias leaned in slightly, not fully, not rushing, just close enough for their foreheads to touch. The gentle contact sent a shiver down her spine, grounding her and lifting her at the same time. She closed her eyes, savoring the closeness, the warmth, the quiet heartbeat she felt echoing beneath his skin. Elias whispered her name softly, as though testing how it felt in the air between them. Elara. She opened her eyes slowly, meeting his gaze. There was sincerity there, raw and unshielded. "I don't know what this is," he admitted, his voice barely above a breath. "But I don't want it to end." Her heart tightened, softened, bloomed. She felt the same, an ache she didn't want to let go of, a possibility she didn't want to lose. "Neither do I," she whispered, her voice trembling with the truth she could no longer hide. The moment stretched between them, delicate and electric. Elias brushed his thumb across her cheek, his touch featherlight but filled with meaning. Elara leaned closer, drawn into him by a pull stronger than logic or fear. Their breaths mingled, warm and soft, carrying all the unspoken words they weren't yet ready to voice. The world around them faded completely, the river, the city, even the sky, until nothing remained but the closeness between them and the quiet promise building in the space of a heartbeat. Then, with the gentlest of motions, Elias closed the small distance between them. Their lips met softly, barely a whisper at first, just a fragile, trembling connection formed beneath the moonlight. The kiss deepened slowly, not rushed, not hungry, but full of tenderness and wonder, like discovering a new language they somehow already knew. Elara's fingers curled around the fabric of his coat, grounding herself in the warmth of him, while Elias lifted a hand to cradle the back of her head, his touch protective and reverent. The world felt still, suspended, as if time had bowed gracefully to the beauty of the moment. When they finally pulled back, it wasn't out of uncertainty, it was simply to breathe, to fully absorb the magnitude of what had just happened. They stayed close, their foreheads touching once more, their breaths sinking in quiet harmony. Elara felt something inside her settle, as though she had finally found the missing piece she never knew she was searching for. Elias felt a calm he hadn't felt in years, a grounding warmth that spread through him like dawn breaking after a long night. The wind whispered around them, carrying the scent of the coming morning. The sky had begun to shift ever so slightly, hinting at the approach of dawn, but neither of them moved. They didn't want to break the spell, not yet. Midnight had given them something rare, something fragile and powerful. As they held each other beneath the fading moonlight, they both knew one thing with quiet certainty.